Let me explain why. I grew up about an hour north of St. Louis, Missouri. I was a huge St. Louis baseball Cardinals fan, okay? So from an early age, and I hate to admit this is very embarrassing, I have had a deep-seated hatred of Pete Rose. Okay? Because if you're a Cardinals fan, you got Lou Brock. He's the all-time leading base stealer. You got Bob Gibson late in his career. You got like George Hendrick out playing right field. Later you get Willie McGee. You got Ozzie Smith. You got Bob Forsch on the mound. You got Keith Hernandez before he became a Met, unfortunately, playing at first base. Okay? You got the Mad Hungarian, Al Hrabosky. You got all these great players, but up the road in Cincinnati, you got Tony Perez, you got Joe Morgan, you got Johnny Bench, and you got this guy, Pete Rose. And here's the thing about Pete Rose. He was never, I don't think, the best athlete on the baseball field. But he was the best baseball player on the baseball field. He was the most fierce competitor on the baseball field. And that's what really ticked you off, because he had that swagger. He was cocky. But here's the deal. As a young kid, it wasn't Charlie Hustle. He should have called you the Dream Crusher, because that's what you did with the Cardinals all the time. So when the WWE comes to me and says, you're going to drop Pete Rose on his head, I was like, oh, yes! Just like Pete Rose used to take out Ted Simmons, the great St. Louis Cardinals catcher at home plate. That's what I'm going to do with Pete Rose. But then he keeps on coming back. Year after year, I can't get rid of him. And then finally I realized, man, if Pete Rose hadn't been such a great baseball player, he'd have been a tremendous bad guy, a heel in wrestling. Because if there are any people out there, you young people, and you want to be a professional wrestler, you want to be a heel, watch the promo that Pete Rose cut at Boston, okay, where he goes out before I come to the ring and he says to the fans in Boston, I left some tickets for my buddy Billy Buckner, but he couldn't bend over to pick them up. How about it? But now that my passion has been somewhat tempered and I have a perspective of older age, that deep-seated hatred for Pete Rose has been replaced by respect. Because after working with him, realized that he is a consummate professional. Not only was he a legendary, and we use the term legendary way too casually, Pete Rose is a legend. He's a consummate professional, and he's also, as a performer, and I have a great deal of respect for this, it was always about WWE fans. That's what he was all about, was putting on a good show for them. So it is my distinct pleasure to introduce the all-time leading Major League Baseball hitter, as well as one of the greatest in the history of the game, and WWE Hall of Famer, Pete Rose.
He didn't tell you about me whipping his ass backstage.
He doesn't walk off the phone.
Glenn, I wish when you talk about me, you would call me a living legend, because the legends are dead. It's a pleasure to be here. Where the hell are we? We're in Knoxville. You know what? It seems like yesterday, but I played here in 1962. I played against the Smokies. We played for Macon. Well, we beat those guys in the playoffs and win the Sally League Championship. So I've been to Knoxville before, but that was 61 years ago, so it's kind of changed. There's probably 3 or 4 people in the audience that went to those games. But, you know, I had such a special career because of the teammates I had. I'm going to give you a rundown of a lineup that I had the pleasure of being teammates with, okay? And then when I give you this lineup, then you'll understand how much fun it was for me to play the game of baseball. Of course, I played with the greatest catcher ever, Johnny Bench. That's my catcher. Played with the greatest third baseman ever, Mike Schmidt, okay, in Philadelphia. Barry Larkin was my shortstop. Joe Morgan, the greatest second baseman ever, was my second baseman. Tony Perez was my first baseman. I met Tony Perez in 1960 when I was 2 days out of high school, and he was 2 months out of Cuba. When I got to Geneva, New York, he was the second baseman on the team. They put me at second, they put him at third. That was 1960. About a month ago, I went to lunch with him in Cincinnati. I sat there for 2 hours and didn't understand a damn word he said. Then you got right field was Andre Dawson when I played for Montreal. Center field, Tim Raines when I played with Montreal. And left field was Frank Robinson. You know, won the Triple Crown in '66. Right-hand pitcher was Tom Seaver. Left-hand pitcher was Steve Carlton. Backup catcher was Gary Carter. Every one of those guys are in the Hall of Fame. That's the guys I hung around with, okay? What did that teach me? Well, like I told the players on your team today, winning is an attitude. Losing is an attitude. Being positive is an attitude. Being negative is an attitude. And what your coach wants from your athletes are winning, positive athletes. Those are the type of people that are fun to watch play, okay? And I told him today, you play baseball for one reason. You play basketball, you play football, you play hockey for one reason and one reason only, to win, okay? We all got grandkids, well, not all of us. I don't think those two young girls got grandkids, but we got nieces, we got nephews, we got sons, we got daughters. Don't tell me if you go watch someone play a game that's in your family and they win, you're not in a better mood on the way home. And if they lose, you're in a bad mood on the way home. That's just the way it should be. And if you're in no mood at all, you shouldn't go to the game. Well, I got grandsons. I got a grandson, 16, that's a hell of a football player in Cincinnati. Plays for Xavier, won the state title last year. Most aggressive kid I've ever seen in my life. He's 16, he's 5'11", 214, he's a middle linebacker on the state championship team. He'll be a junior next year. I got another grandson, about 5 years old, the fastest runner in the league. He had a game the other day, there was a guy on first. He passed him up, going around third. I said, Julian, you can't do that. He said, well, he was slowed down. Let him score before you pass him, for crying sakes. I mean, that, you know, I'm not going to say anything off color, but some people may be offended. And if they are, what are you going to do, suspend me? Anyway, I was lucky enough to play in 17 All-Star games. And the only one we lost was in Detroit in 1971. And that's when Reggie hit. Matter of fact, it's Reggie's birthday today. He's in Vegas having a party. He had a home run off of Doc Ellis that hit the transformer on top of the stadium. And we're out to dinner at Ruth Chris, me and a couple other guys, and Willie's at the next table. That's Willie Mays, that's my teammate, greatest. So we're talking, he said, I'll be right back, I gotta go to the restroom. So he comes back, and I can talk just like him, okay? He looked like Willie Mays should look. Alligator shoes, light gray suit, white shirt, purple tie. And when he came back, he had water over both sides of his pants. And I'm looking at him and said, Willie, what the hell's going on? What's wrong? He says, man, you ain't gonna believe this. He said, I was in there taking a pee, and the guy said, it's Willie Mays. I got peed on me. If you're a baseball fan at all, you should know who Don Zimmer was. Popeye. Okay? When we lost Don 4 or 5 years ago, when Don was alive, I used to tell people he's the only guy in the world that knows more about baseball than me. And it's strange because we grew up on the same Little League fields and coaches, same American Legion field and coaches, same high school field and coaches. Our dads were Little League teammates, okay? And Don's dad and my dad would take me and Don to the racetrack every Saturday. That's where that shit started. And Don's dad was the biggest gambler I know. But he was the nicest guy. He owned a produce company. And he went to work every day. And one day, I was about 10 or 11 years old. He said, I had a dream last night about white hats and black hats, big hats and small hats and round hats and square hats. And I went to work. He owned a produce company. And one of his employees gave him a new Cincinnati red hat. As he did every day, he ate lunch and went to River Downs Racetrack. And he opened up the program, and number one was Top Hat. Now, if you know anything about gambling, dreaming about hats, guy gives him a new hat, number one is Top Hat. He bet $1,000 to win on Top Hat. This is 1950. That's a big ass bet, okay? We're going 2 turns, we're going a mile, coming around the home stretch, coming down the home stretch, the last jump, a 50 to 1 shot beat Top Hat. And I said, Doug, who won the race? He said, Sombrero. So the moral of that story is that Don's ever had been Spanish, he'd have won $50,000. But I wish the team here at this academy could approach the game like we approached it in Cincinnati. And we did the same thing in Philadelphia. Actually, we did the same thing in Montreal. There's one way to approach the game, that's try to win the game. What can you do to help your team win? Okay, because everybody benefits when you win the championship. Okay, some people get all the notoriety and some people don't. But yet, if you're on a team that wins a championship, everybody on that team helped somewhere. Okay? That's the way you got to look at that. And the memories will last you forever if you win a high school championship. I never won a high school championship. I won a championship my first full year in Tampa. How about this one? We won the Florida State League Championship. We're a bunch of 19 and 20-year-old kids. And the owner of the team gave us all a Zippo lighter. Now, one of us smoked. What the hell am I going to do with a Zippo lighter? Then we won the next year in Macon in the Sally League, which Knoxville was in that league, and the guy didn't give us anything. He said, nice going. So when I got to Cincinnati the next year, I was kind of used to winning. We didn't win the first year. I won Rookie of the Year, but I didn't win until 1970. I got to go to the World Series for the first time. And I went back to the World Series in '72, and we lost a great playoff against the Mets in '73. Then we actually won the World Series in '75, won the World Series in '76, won the World Series in 1980, and lost the World Series in 1983. So I was looking out to playing 6 World Series and win 3. Some guys never played in the World Series. Ernie Banks never played in the World Series. Willie Mays only played 1. Henry Aaron only played 1. So it's a tough deal to get to the top, to be state champions in high school baseball, to be World Series champions. It's tough, but it's worth working for. It's worth working for. And let me tell you something. Once you raise that trophy, you're a world champion, you want to do it every freaking year. Every year you want to do it. Okay, that's just the way it is. The feeling, I get a kick out of these guys report the game. They cover the game. They're in the clubhouse after the game's over, and they want you to make you think that they know what it feels like to win the World Series. How do they know? That's like me telling them, how's it feel to have a baby? I don't know. I don't want to know. I mean, it's just the way it is. There's certain things you can do and certain things you can't do. And by the way, everybody in this auditorium has expertise. Okay, whether you're 70 or whether you're 7, everybody has expertise. And the earlier you find out what your expertise are, where you just go out and develop them. Okay? Some guys can hit. Some guys can run. Some guys can throw a football. Some guys can shoot a basketball. Some guys can shoot a hockey puck. Okay? Some guys are scientists. Okay? Some guys are bums. We probably got 5 or 10 people in this audience that end up being bums. I mean, I live in Vegas, in one street in Vegas, Las Vegas Boulevard, they ought to call it a bumville. I mean, they're pitching their tents right out on the street right now. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. But that's what they do. So I'm not gonna tell them they can't do it. Then I had to take them in. I don't have room for them in my house. You know, I only got a 40 room house in my house. I don't know. So that's my story. And as far as records, everybody has records. You know, I got 19 Major League records and 7 more National League records. But the best record I got is I played more winning games than anybody. That's why I played. Not because I scored more runs or got more hits or hit more doubles. I made more outs than anybody. You guys are paying me to talk to you, and I made 9,800 outs. That's how stupid you are. That's a lot of outs, 9,800. Most players don't get 9,800 at bats. Okay, but it was fun. It was fun. I was never very nervous except opening day. You got to remember, opening day, I was born 3 miles from Crosley Field in Cincinnati. That's where I was born. And I wasn't nervous at all until right about time for the game, and the guy from the Cincinnati Enquirer wanted my mom and dad to come down and get a picture with me. And that kind of woke me up. Here, I'm gonna start second baseman for the Cincinnati Reds. Something I wanted to do my whole life. Every kid in Cincinnati wants to play for the Reds. Every kid in St. Louis wants to play for the Cardinals. You didn't know this game, but I played against Stan Musial. His last year was my first year. Last game of the season, playing second. He gets a hit to my left. Right fielder throws me the ball. I take it over and hand it to Stan. That was hit number 3630. And then, that's 63. Then in 1981, after the strike, I got a base hit first time up for 36-31. Stan came out of the audience and came to first base in Philadelphia to congratulate me. Took a long time. But Ty Cobb, he wasn't there when I got the hit. I don't know where the hell he was. He was drunk somewhere up there. He didn't want me to break that record. I met his son one time, and he was nasty to me. He was mad at me because I got those hits. I didn't cheat, I got the hits. Man, my dad used to spike people. I didn't hurt nobody. I played within the rules of the game. I mean, but Ty Cobb was a great player. Wade Hoy used to tell me, that was our announcer, he played with the greatest player in the history of baseball. And I don't think, I should get everybody to agree with me, but I probably won't. You know, some people will say May, some people will say Aaron, some people will say Clemente, some people will say Musial. I'm gonna tell you who the greatest baseball player in the world ever, Babe Ruth. Because Babe Ruth did something that Michael Jordan couldn't do in basketball, Wayne Gretzky couldn't do in hockey, Tom Brady couldn't do in football. Just by Babe Ruth going to this town or that town, 3 games, they sold out every time he played and enabled those franchises to grow. And he saved the game because this was right after the 1990 Black Sox scandal, okay? No, I didn't bet against my team. I love my players. I had that much faith in them. You know, I quit playing as a player. You know, the day after I quit playing, I could get my pension. And you had to be 45 to get your pension. But I was still having fun. Now, writing the lineup out of Paul O'Neill, Barry Larkin, Eric Davis, you know, Tracy Jones, Cal Daniels, Tom Brownie, Rob Dibble. I saw 32 players get their first hit when I brought them up from the minor leagues. 32. That's a lot of players. But I love my young players. Because young players, I told these guys today, veteran players give you experience. Young players give you enthusiasm. You need enthusiasm in today's sports. Like I got a kick out of showing the team highlights up there. Every damn highlight was a goddamn home run. It's not that easy. Where's some singles with 2 men on and 2 outs? Those win games too. You lost the last game you played by 2-1. Give me a home run when it counts. Right, Coach?
Absolutely.
You coached a horseshit game that day. Just kidding. I tell people this all the time, and this is the truth. Okay, this is a true statement, really. There's one thing and one thing only.
Yeah, but good time.
Make a good manager in baseball, good coach in football, good coach in hockey, and a good coach in basketball. You know what the one thing is? Don't be so quiet. Baby. One thing it takes to be a good coach: good players. You know any good coaches that have bad players? No. The answer is no. You don't even think about it. If you got good players, you'll win. You won. Well, you only lost 9 games. You got good players. You got to get them to give it to you every day. They got to be. A good player can't be mediocre. A great player can't be good. Okay? A mediocre player can't be poor. That's the way you got to look at it. You got to elevate each player to reach beyond his potential. If you do that, you'll win more games than anybody else. You'll be asking for a raise. I'm in your corner. Where's your athletic director?
He's not here tonight.
Yeah, I know the mayor. Go see the mayor. Okay? You want to come up?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
We're going to take some questions to see how intelligent you people are. Take that mic. Go.
All right, so one of the first things I want to talk to you about is just toughness. How do you define toughness?
He's sitting right over there. I'm still mad at him in that San Diego chicken outfit. He threw me against that ring before I got in the ring and almost broke my back. And he ended up laughing at me. That's the kind of guy your mayor is. He'll kill you and laugh at you.
Don't believe that's not true.
You don't remember that, Kane, but you remember you had a bad hand.
Yes.
And you could not get behind my tail and hit that chicken outfit. So I was a chicken without a tail. Yeah. You're one of the very few guys ever to feel my ass. You know? Anyway, Coach. I love that guy. That guy's a cool thing. My dad is the only person I've ever idolized in my life. And I met 7 presidents. Okay? But my dad was like an old Pete Rose. Well, he was Pete Rose. He played the same way I did. And I was very fortunate because he was a softball player, I was a bat boy. He was a football player, I was a water boy. He was a basketball player, I was a ball boy. And when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, everywhere he went, I was with him in the front seat, and I saw him play. My dad's the greatest football player coming out of Cincinnati. Okay, this is how I was raised. And when I tell you this story, you'll understand why I played the way I played. Okay, I'm a 2-time batting champion in Cincinnati. In other words, I reached stardom. Okay, and my dad never stayed after the game. He went home because he was a banker. He worked at Fifth Third Union Trust Company. And he had to get up and catch the bus at 8 o'clock. And this one particular night, I come out and he's standing by my car. So right away, I think my mom's sick. Because my mom, she tried to die every year. She was a hypochondriac. And she outlived my dad by 30 years. And my dad was never sick a day in his life. The night before my dad died, he was playing basketball with me. He just got a blood clot that went to his heart. Okay? 58 years old. So I outlived him, thank God, or I wouldn't be here tonight. And He's out by my car, so right away, I think Mom's sick. I said, what's the matter, Dad? Is Mom sick? He said, no. He said, let me ask you a question. He said, that third time up tonight, when you hit man on third and 2 outs, and you hit the ball to second, did you run hard to first? And I thought about it, and I missed the pitch, so I was pissed. And I didn't run hard to first. I said, no, I guess I didn't. He said, don't embarrass me in this town like that. I taught you, when you hit the ball, you run to the umpire says out or safe. He said, I'll see you tomorrow. I said, thank you. That's when you're under that kind of scrutiny, playing in the big leagues. He noticed I didn't run a ball out. And he took it upon himself to get on my ass about that. And he was right. He was absolutely right. You know, so when you're raised like that, this is what you end up with. A good-looking shirt and a lot of hits. I don't even think I answered your question, Coach, because it was a dumbass question. Just kidding. He's a good coach, man. He's got the players playing good. And it's up to him. I mean, it's his program. It's his program. You guys get to watch it, which is a good thing, because you got a good leader. It's like having a good manager in baseball, a good coach in football, good coach in basketball. Okay? You got to care about your players. The most important thing is your players. Okay? And that's just the way it is. And he does a good job with it, because he cares about your youngsters. They're your youngsters, not his. Okay? He's guiding your youngsters. You should be happy that he's in charge. Now, ask me a damn good question.
On the toughness thing again, so do you think that's something that you're born with, your competitiveness, your toughness, are you born with it, or just...
The only thing I was born with, Coach, I think, every major league athlete, like Glen, hand-eye coordination. You got to have hand-eye coordination to be a hitter, okay? But I played the same way at Crosby Field, Riverfront Stadium, as I did when I played Little League baseball. I wasn't the best player on the Little League team. We had a pitcher named Eddie Brinkman, who the same year I signed for $65,000. I got 7. He got all the money, I got all the hits. No, you're born a certain way. I don't think I'd be like I was if it wasn't for my dad being the way he was. I wouldn't be just like my dad. I wouldn't be Pete Rose. Well, I was Pete Rose. I want to be Pete Rose. Okay, that's just the way it was. I mean, he got a great example for me as an athlete. And I was better a football player. You guys might find this interesting. I actually flew to Tennessee to talk about a football scholarship back in 1960. Thank God I didn't take that thing. Because I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys, okay? But I didn't like school. That was my mistake. But it worked out okay for me. I hated school. I mean, I don't know why. My dad, when I was a kid, my dad wouldn't let me go to the movies because he thought it was bad for my eyes. And I'm a hitter. You gotta have a good eye. You know, some guys can hit. You think Ray Charles can hit? I don't think so. Stevie Wonder? I don't think so.
You know who you're talking about, don't you?
Pete Rose? I think so. I mean, most of the stuff I'm talking about tonight will make sense once you think about it. I'm just trying to make you glad that you came here tonight. Where am I going after this is over? I'm driving to Cincinnati because I'm going to the ball game tomorrow. Well, I told her not to call, but you know. I thought I had to look. It might have been the commissioner. So if he called collect. Get me off the hook, Coach. Go.
So you won a World Series with 2 different organizations.
Yes.
And something we talk about in our program all the time is building a culture. I want to know some of the similarities between the two things. What were some of the things?
Well, that was interesting because when I went to Philadelphia as a free agent, I could have went to St. Louis. I wish I had now because the guy, Mr. Bush, offered me a Budweiser distributorship. He did. You know what that was worth? Ted Turner offered me $1 million a year. John Galbraith, who owned racehorses, let me tell you something. If John Galbraith would have proved to me that he had a Derby winner with balls that big, I'd have been a Pittsburgh Pirate. But I chose the team. The microphone's on in this area over here. I don't know about this area. Come on, Jeff, wake him up over there, buddy. I mean, Ted Turner offered me $1 million a year for 4 years. Doesn't sound like much today, but when I signed for Philadelphia for $810,000 a year, made me the highest paid player in sports. Because there was a basketball player from North Carolina State, played for the Denver Nuggets, named David Thompson. He made $800,000. But my last year in Cincinnati, I got my 3,000 hit, and I hit in 44 straight games. I kind of reached the top of my profession. And I don't know why he didn't give me 801, he gave me 810. He was bad at math, I guess, I don't know. But that was in 1979. So you went from 1979 making 810,000 to 2021, guys making 40 million. That's how much it's increased. I hate my mom and dad. Why did they have you last year? I mean, it's all about timing. But there again, you know, you can make money, okay? But I wouldn't trade places with anybody for all the guys I got to play with and against. One of the greatest in the history of baseball. Stan Musial, one of the best. Willie, one of the best. Hank Aaron, one of the best. Roberto Clemente, one of the best. Stan Musial, maybe the best, maybe the best. And for you asses out there, I didn't play against Babe Ruth. Although I wish I had, because, oh, Jimmy, it's been 8 or 9, 10 years ago now. I was up at Cooperstown signing autographs. Now, don't get excited. I'm allowed in Cooperstown. I'm just not allowed to hang. And Babe Ruth's daughter was 87 years old, and she walked 3 blocks down the street to say hi to me and tell me that her dad would have loved the way I played. Now, you talk about being nervous, ladies and gentlemen. I've been in front of federal judges. Boy, it's history, okay? That's the most nervous I ever been, in front of her and in front of Ronald Reagan. They both hit me the same way. I'm saying, I'm talking to Babe Ruth's daughter. This can't be Babe Ruth's daughter. It was her. Her name was Claire. She died several years ago, but she was 87, 9 years ago. I mean, how long are you going to live, Claire? Come on. I wish you could have lived forever. It's Babe Ruth's daughter. Babe Ruth is legendary. People would know Babe Ruth 200 years from now. They will. The guy was such a dude. He was such a dude. Every baseball person would be like Babe Ruth. He just had so much charisma. He loved kids. He was an orphan. He loved fans. He loved hot dogs. He'd enjoy that meal down there tonight. That chicken and mashed potatoes and beans. Where y'all get that stuff at?
From Aubrey's, they're one of our sponsors for this.
You know, I wanted to go back 3 times. Well, I went in there at 212 and it came out 218. Kane went in there 300, came out 305. That is a big dude, isn't it?
Yeah, so between the two teams, you have really good players?
Yeah,
or?
we had good ones. You know, I had Concepcion, I had Boa. Okay? I had me, I had Schmidt, third base. I had Dave Cash, I had Joe Morgan. I had Gozinski, I had Foster. I had Maddox, I had Geronimo. I just had good players. I had Boone, I had Bench. So, you know, Phillies weren't quite good as the Reds. You know, the Reds had 3 Hall of Famers on it. Montreal had 3 Hall of Famers when I was there. Dawson, Raines, and Carter. Philadelphia only had 2, Carlton and Schmidt. I mean, so I was used to being around players like that. You know, there's something about, they're not arrogant or cocky or things like that, but there's something about Hall of Fame players. There's a reason why you go to the Hall of Fame. And it's usually the way you play on the field. And a lot of times it's the way you play off the field. Okay? I played against a lot of Hall of Famers. McCovey, Stargell, you know, Clemente. He was another guy, no Clemente. He knows speaking English, but he could hit. But if you go through Davey Concepcion, I remember one time my son was playing baseball. Davey was our shortstop. And my son called me and he said, "Dad, can you help me?" I said, "What's the matter, Petey?" He said, "I'm 0 for 22. I said, "What?" He said, "I'm 0 for 22. I said, "What the hell are you calling me for? Call Concepcion?" What the hell do I know about going 0 for 22? I went 0 for 4 twice. I remember one time we were playing in Chicago, and Davey was in one of those things 0 for 20 or so. And in Chicago, the trainer who was right there, and there's one bed, like not bed, but you know, like a bench. And the dryer is here. It's one of the big dryers that you can see the fire underneath. Okay? And Davey comes in, he's screwing around. He said, "I get warm today. I'm going to get hit today because I'm going to get hot." So he gets in this dryer. It's not going around. Okay? Then all of a sudden, Perez walks in, and he hits the wall, and the dryer goes around. I left the room because all I could see is Dave. His arms are broke, his legs are broke. They got him stopped. This is the God's honest truth. It burned all the hair off his legs. It burned all the hair off his arms. He went out and he got 3 for 4. The next night he wouldn't even let the trainer put his jock in the driver. That thing went around 3 times. Hell!
So teams like that, I would like to talk about leadership and teaching our kids how to lead. Is it more like individual leadership? Does everybody come in there and take?
No, we were very fortunate in Cincinnati because we're the only team in the history of baseball. We had white stars, Latino stars, and black stars. Everybody's got stars. But Perez is like a dad to all the black players. Joe Morgan took care of the black players. Okay? And Perez too. And then Bench took care of the white players along with me. So you always had help. We didn't put the strain on one player. If Johnny didn't hit, Tony did. If Tony didn't hit, Joe did. I remember when Joe came to Cincinnati. He's in the clubhouse first day, and I looked at Joe. I said, "Joe, let me ask you a question," because he was in Houston, and I used to know him real well down there. I said, "When you bat, do you like to bat when the pitcher's in the stretch as opposed to warming up?" He said, "Hell yeah, everybody does." I said, "Well, you see that office over there, that door? Yeah, it's Sparky's office. You go in there and you tell Sparky you wouldn't hit after me." I'm going to get the pitcher in the stretch more than anybody else. The next day, that little son of a bitch was hitting second right behind me. So he went in the office. It's a big difference. And then coach should be in the stretch as opposed to being in a windup. You know, I got on base 5,900 times. That's a lot of times. Pitcher had to be in the stretch.
So when you're a manager, what are ways that you try to develop culture within your team?
Well, I just try to, Sparky taught me this, Coach, and it'd be good for you, okay? Be good for anybody, actually. He used to tell me that there's 3 ways you can treat a person, and only 3. And if there's a 4th, yell it out when I'm through talking. You can pat a guy on the butt, you can kick a guy in the butt, or you leave him alone. How else can you treat a person? You can't kick the guy that needs patted. You can't pat the guy that needs kicked. You can't kick the guy that needs left alone. You got to know your personnel. It's harder for you because you're not in the big leagues and you see them year after year after year. You're going to see these guys 4 years and that's it. Okay? So you probably don't even know till this day what players you can yell at and what players you can't yell at. Because if you yell at players that you can't yell at, they're going to hide. They're going to run and hide. Okay? Some guys, you know who they are. They want you to kick them in the ass. You know, Sparky, he didn't do anything to me. Just come to the ballpark, first thing he did, got the lineup out and put Rose in the 1 slot and waited for everybody else to get there. Well, I did. I missed 10 games in 11 years in the 70s. And whenever Sparky took me out of the lineup, which he did 10 times, I'd stand right next to him, and every time he'd move, I'd make sure he bumped into me. I was driving crazy. So finally he said, "Jesus, get in the game, get your glove and get out of here." Or psychology. I didn't even like to watch baseball. I wanted to play baseball. I didn't want to watch it. Sparky was the best. He was the most street smart guy I ever met in my life. Not book smart, street smart. Because you're going to ask guys to go to war with you every night, what you do as a baseball coach. What makes them tick? Who wants the ball with a man on 3rd and 1 out? Who wants the bat with a man on 2nd, 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th? Okay, you know who it is. That's the guy you send up there. That's the guy you bring in. But you got to know your personnel to know that. That's why managers have a lot of problems with rookie players because they don't know what makes them tick yet. You know, you won't know what makes guys tick until their sophomore or junior year. And by that time, you're asked to be fired. You're going to be here a while.
So is it true, my cousin told me a story, he played in the big leagues. He told me that one time you argued with an umpire, Paul O'Neill got thrown out on the bang bang play.
Well, first of all, okay, Riverfront Stadium. The dugout is probably here to that young lady at first base. So consequently, I could see the play there in the umpire. And Paul O'Neill is one of my best players, and I'm in 2nd place. And Tony Perez is my coach. And Paul was out by this far, which is not close in baseball. This is close. This is not close at all. And Paul used to argue with everything. And he's going to get kicked out of the game, and Jerry Crawford's umpire. And I go out and say, "Tony, get him away. I need him in the game. Get him away." And I look at Jerry Crawford and say, "Jerry, that was the best damn call I ever seen in my life." Jerry said, "I know. Now get your ass out of here or I'm going to kick you out of the game." That's exactly what I want you to do. So he kicks me out of the game. Now after the game, Paul O'Neill sitting in my locker room talking to Dave Parker. And he says, "You know, that's the way a manager is supposed to stick up for his players." He read that in my book and he got pissed at me. I was complimenting him because he was out this far. "Shut up, Paul. Look at your glove. You were out. Ray Charles could have called that." Jethro. When he was in Cincinnati, we called him Jethro for the Beverly Hillbillies. You know, Paul would be the type of guy, "You know, if I hadn't woke up, I'd still be sleeping." Then when he went to the New York Yankees, he become big because he was so big. They called him Big. But he was a great player. You know, everybody knew who Marge Schott is? Mm-hmm. The lady who owned the Reds? Well, I came back to the Reds in August of '84, and she bought the team in winter of '85. So I worked for her 85, 86, 87, 88, and August of '89. So that's 4.5 years. All during my managing the Reds during those years, Marge Schott was the only member of the organization that had facial hair. God rest Martha's soul. She died. Okay, she died, and I made her all the money, because I took the rents from 1.2 million to 2.4 million, 4 years in a row. And she dies, and she leaves 75 million to the damn zoo. She didn't leave me a dime. Throw me a brick, Margie. She was a funny boy. All she wanted to do was sit at the ballpark and sign autographs. And every autograph she signed, she wrote a dog paw for Shotzi. Shotzi run that ballpark. Shotzi shit anywhere he wanted to. He could have did it on his mound.
The last question I got before you head out, I want.
Oh, you getting rid of me?
I gotta go at 8:15, so it's 8:15.
What time is it?
8:15.
You got 3 minutes, buddy.
I want our players to learn from you from the work ethic standpoint and your routines and different things that you did. And how did you separate yourself from other people off the field that way through work ethic?
No, I just had, every player has a routine. You come to the ballpark at a certain time, you know, it seems like it's easy. And the older you get, the earlier you get to the ballpark. Dress the same way. I don't have to go to the ballpark and look on the wall, see if I'm playing, because I know I was playing every day. Just go out for a certain time, take your ground balls, you know, take your batting practice, go in and change, come out, take infield practice. See, when I played for Sparky, if you didn't take infield practice, you couldn't play. There's something wrong with you if you don't take infield practice. You know, one of the toughest guys, well, strongest guy I ever played with was Steve Carl. And he hated to sign autographs. And we're playing in San Diego one time. It's a funny story. And Steve's out there sunbathing. See, pitchers were allowed to do that if they pitched the night before, because they won't pitch for 3 more days. But everyday players couldn't lay out in the sun. Okay? And we put this kid up to go over and ask Steve for an autograph. Okay? And we gave him the ball, and this kid was good. He went over and he said, "Mr. Carl, will you give me an autograph?" Steve had to say, "Yeah." Okay. So he signed the autograph, and get out of here. And the kid said, "Thanks a lot, Steve." "You son of a bitch, get me an autograph back. You censored me, you son." Oh man, he was pissed. He was good though. Oh man, the stuff I've seen in baseball. I could write a book. Well, I did 3 of them.
Well, we appreciate very much you coming and talking to our community tonight. And it was an awesome event. Our players got to talk to you personally, and we really appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you.
Oh, I talked to the community tonight. Wow. Any big words over here? They're here, got everybody here. Well, let me tell you something. I wish your team nothing but luck, okay? If you're not in Ohio, I can root for you. Because my son plays at Xavier High School in Cincinnati. And this is a good group. I appreciate it. I hope I didn't offend anybody. Thank you for supporting the team. You got a good coach. Support him, and you'll have him here for a long time. Thanks for coming. Thank you.